Else is new.
Present.
Mrs. Browning, Mr. Goofy, present. Mr. Quinn,
Present.
Ms. Sanchez, Ms. Scannavejko, Mr. Singh, Mrs. Zattarelli,
Present.
Mr. Burek.
Present. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been sent to all members of the Board of Education and to the Bergen Record in accordance with the provisions of the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, 1975. Superintendent's report, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. For the board, I left at each of your spots one article which was in the record on December 2nd, which I think is an excellent article on the written by fine-tuning the PARCC test to better assist New Jersey students. It really, I think, covers it in a positive way and way it's going to continue in the way they should move. And so I wanted you to read that so that you can be brought up to speed. And second, I was very impressed, and I asked John to give it to me, and it's the middle school, high school newsletter that's going out for November, December that Mr. Lawler gave me. I told him I was very impressed with it, so I got you guys a copy in there. And these are the positive things you want to have go out, so you're constantly letting the community know the good things you're doing. As I've said for the last 20 years, no one is going to compliment us, so we have to pound our own chest to let people know all the good things that are taking place. I met with Pat Eckel and John Lawler and is it Sonia Otero? Mm-hmm. They had requested a meeting, and I think I met with Keith too. My age, I tend to forget when it's more than 3. But there was a group meeting, and they came in, and they requested to move Sonia's training lab to the high school. And the reason being was they thought they could, get more value for it, and they had a room there that still would be used for the district. And in speaking to Pat, she was in support of it because there's really no space at Smith School. And since I took this job, Ray on at least 8 occasions would say to me, there's a real big room at Smith School. And so I said, well, let's go down and take a look at this. And I can report to Saddlebrook, there is a big room at Smith School that was being underutilized. There really weren't even enough computers in the room. I think there was like 8 or 9. Most training places have maybe anywhere from 15 to 20. And so it satisfied everyone's needs because now Pat would be able to take a couple classes and put it in that room that are now like in storage areas, etc. And the easy move that takes place is everything's wireless now. So you didn't have to worry about all the wires. That was the thing going through my mind and doing surge protectors and everything. Then the concern is when were they going to get it done? And so I told them, well, close your training down on December 21st. We only have 2.5 days that week. And Keith, Scott, the district tech guy, he was there. And he said, that'd be great. So the move is going to take place on December 21st. Going to move it up to the high school. Pat then will be able to move a couple classrooms into that room right after the holidays. And it's a smooth transition. And everyone was in support because I asked, I said, is there anyone here that would be against that? No. Pat, for educational purposes, well, really, it was all educational purposes. And also, Ray had said that this would be perfect, logistically speaking. I had the fortune of going to the transition class, is what I think it's called, the high school. They invited me for Thanksgiving lunch, 4-star restaurant, if it went in the record. I was extremely impressed. And what I really was impressed about, by the grace of God, there could be our children, et cetera, how engaged they were. The staff, there had to be 8, 9 teachers there, taking the time with the kids. The teacher that's in charge of the program was in at 6:30 that morning, along with a student. One of the students came in at 6:45 to help in the cooking of the turkey. The stuffing was out of sight, and that was done by a staff member, last name Barberi, I think is the name. It was unbelievable. So even if I'm not here next year, I asked for an invitation. I'd be always happy to visit Saddlebrook to go to that, but it was absolutely fantastic. So there are a lot of good things going on. I will say to the board that there's been a lot of sensitive issues that had to be resolved in the month since I met with you the last time. And I've met in every case with the administrator that was involved in that. And I have to say, in every case, they were about 95% there, the collaboration, and then talking to me and going back and forth. What I could offer was my experience. And knowing that all of these cases I've seen 20, 25 times and usually have an idea where it's going to end up. And I think we successfully resolved every issue. Doesn't mean that some people weren't all happy, because when you deal with these type of issues, you're all Judge Judy in trying to make decisions. The only difference is she's making $44 million a year and we're not. But I want to compliment the administrative team, because to be honest with you, every school had an issue this past month. And we had to work through them, some more challenging than the others. But I was very impressed and appreciative of the efforts of the staff members to resolve the issues. On the agenda items, when you go through student services, those 4 items or 6 items are all special ed related. And so when we go into private session, if anyone has any questions regarding that, I can answer them for you. I added on B. One thing, and I've explained it to each of the administrators as much, and to Gina, and I'll say it to the board. The official record, you can say it one of 2 ways. The official record of the district, or as one attorney said to me one time, the cesspool of accountability is the minutes for the board. If you have doubts, get it approved by the board, so that when if anyone questions whether it's the state or someone else, if it's been approved by the board, you go to those minutes, you're covered. And the one thing that has to be put in is the fire and security drills. The state has a process that you have to fill out each year and give them. NBC tried to create some issues last year with trying to do an investigative report on it. For whatever reason, to this day, I don't know why. But they were looking at it to see if it was being followed. So what you have in front of you under B1 is the fire drills and security drills from September through this month. Starting next month, it'll just be 2 drills from each school going forward. That should stay. That's something that should always be in your minutes each month, so you're only protecting the district as you move forward. There's a log kept, and then that has to go to the county. What I don't understand sometimes for the county and state, which is not unusual, they ask every year for you to fill out a year ahead of time the dates for your fire drills and your security drills. And I did call the first time, and I said, why? They said, well, you have to do that. I said, why? Because we're not going to run them those dates. If we got a fire drill and it's raining like hell outside, and we're not going to do it that day. So I said, sometimes we'll do it at the end of the month regarding testing and everything else. So we always everyone gives them dates. Nobody follows them. And then you put in your report at the end of the year. But you better have a fire drill and a security drill every month. D is all the professional development workshops listed. However, if you go on page 3, from number 11 to 19, where it says changing beliefs and behaviors, that's supposed to be on December 10th. Brenda got notified today that they canceled that workshop. So the only reason I bracketed for you, that will not be approved. If it is rescheduled, we'll put it in another board meeting. So number 11, I apologize, 11, which starts with Saccone, to the next page, Summers and Math, they're not going, and so that's already been canceled. The subs have been canceled. The rest are in place. Quite a few of those workshops are either special ed, IR&S training, and in addition, a lot of them on social thinking and imperialism and teaching. That's all social studies driven to meet the new content standards. What we're trying to do this year is take it one step further. Ray and I met with the two supervisors today at a lengthy meeting along with the three K-6 principals because it hit me last week that all three K-6 principals started September 1. So the interim is first year, the other two is their first year. One supervisor is the first year, and then Christine's the veteran. I think she's been here 13 months. And when I saw that, I said to Ray, there's no history here. In other words, how you're going about and dealing with it. We put on extra security for our business administrator because he is the history. He's critical because he's been just a lifesaver for me on things that have been done in the past. But we met with the three K-6 principals, the two supervisors, and what we're trying to do, and I've already met with the principals and we had our general meeting, we're going to meld the supervisors more into the system so that they have more authority and more accountability so that they are overseeing the K-12 curriculum for the disciplines they're responsible for. So Christine is responsible for the social studies and language arts, and Rob is responsible for the math and the science. And the way I explained to everyone, and everyone agreed, I know by going into a classroom whether somebody can teach or not. I'll know that within 30 minutes. That's never been a problem for me. But if I can see a great math teacher that can teach, I don't know if they're teaching the right math. I don't even know if they're teaching the right math to the right standards. And that's why you need to have supervisors. So I applaud you for at least getting the two supervisors back in here. That's going to be a big help for this district moving forward, and the two of them are very conscientious. So they were working with the three K-6 principals, and the three K-6 principals, I told them, and they're very receptive, you must work together. What I'm looking for is consistency and only a shade of gray in difference of what you're asking for. So Smith and Franklin, Long, they all should be getting the same thing. The same kids, if they're in second grade in Smith, should be getting the same thing in Franklin. And I found that out the hard way. I was on the board in Rivervale. We had two K-5s. And one, for 10 years, all I kept hearing was the one K-5 never got the same thing. And no matter how hard we worked at it, the first time we would not do something, that they'd come storming. There you go again. And so it's perception. So we're working very hard on that to put that together. You got your field trips in here. They're all down. Then you also got a number 3, which we just changed the wording a little bit from what we sent out to you, the board. It's still the same thing. Wednesday night's going to be a special night here. The Arrow Fastener, the company down the street here, has donated $25,000 to the PTO at Smith Schools to be used for level reading books. They're coming Wednesday night. I have to tell you, in the 30 years that I've been in administration, I've seen many donations. I've never seen a company more excited. We met with Ray and I met with the president, the one PTO member from Smith that did the whole thing. Emily, is that the name? Emily? Did a wonderful job. The president's coming Wednesday night. There's like 2, 3, 4 different people from the company. The employees have raised a lot of the money and donations. They're going to give more. They asked if they could come in and paint in some of the rooms and the buildings. The employees, I've never seen anything like this. So they're really excited. So we're going to have a nice ceremony, little presentation on Wednesday. Dress nice, take pictures, try to get it in the record. We're going to get it in the local newspaper. But that's what you really want to celebrate. And they're excited because the kids are going to benefit from it. The rest down there is, number 6, there's a list of obsolete library books that are truly seeing their better days. So even donating them someplace, not going to work. So they're just being gotten rid of. And then you got your facility use request. I want to thank the policy committee.
Oh, wait, before you go.
Oh, I apologize.
And I have one item I'm
Oh,
going
okay.
to add to Wednesday's agenda. I spoke with the Buildings and Grounds Committee about this last month, and we have our auditors in now, reviewed our books and everything. We've had some plumbing issues with our heating pipes. One contractor we dealt with towards the end of last school year, that PO is going to be paid in this school year. Now we have another issue at Franklin School to just share with the committee. Pipes are failing, and there's a couple of tanks that need to get replaced. That totals $21,800. At Long School we spent $28,000. So Individually, they're not over my bid threshold, but together they are. So the auditors will look at that. I've spoken with them and in consultation with the county office, advised me to approve this one, which Franklin School they haven't started it yet, was to approve this as an emergency contract, because if the pipes do fail, the school could be shut for 2 to 3 days. So there'll be an action on Wednesday to approve emergency contract with Gray White Mechanical LLC to remove and replace the steam to water heat exchanger, steel compressor tank, steam trap, pipe and fittings at a cost of $21,800. Further submit this resolution to the County Superintendent of Schools per NJSA 18A-7. So again, I reviewed with the committee, and this statute recommends that you do it if there's an emergency situation and the cost is over the bid threshold. This one's not, but again, together, auditors look at what's spent in the year. We've gotten quotes for this job, that's all backed up too, but they just recommend that I do it this way, so that'll be added to Wednesday's meeting. And the company's supposed to be doing this weekend, which will be more, so not worry about it going on. Any questions with that, or?
Thank you.
We met with the policy committee, and I thank the policy committee. We got through, and Dave also for participating to go over the first readings for all the policies, except for the second reading on the transgender students. Kim, do you want to try to go over that or talk a little bit about the policy committee as the chair?
Oh, yeah. So policy met on November 23rd, from 5:45 to 7 p.m. I, along with Mr. Boofy, Mr. Gierick, Mr. Karate, Mr. Amarin, Mrs. Barali, and Mr. Lawler and Mr. Galbert all sat down to discuss implementing a new policy with our local law enforcement for a sweep of the building. You know, drugs are everywhere. We're not, you know, it's in our districts too. And so to try to keep it out of our schools, which gives children less access to it during the school day, we approved a policy that would allow a sweep to come in with dogs. Mr. Amarin was going to construct a letter to inform the parents exactly why it's being done, how it's going to be done, and what to expect. Of course, you know, it's just going to happen. We're not going to tell people ahead of time, but we are going to inform parents exactly the process that, you know, is now in place. And, you know, hopefully it's going to deter students from using our buildings as, you know, a way of passing drugs along. So we voted to adopt that. That would only take place in the middle school and high school. We set a small revision to the booster clubs. In that, the only change was that more financial oversight, that annually any booster club would account to the board all funds raised through the conduct of school-related activities by filing a copy of the club's minutes, treasury report with the athletic director, who in turn at the end of the year will give it to Mr. Karate. Everything else was, there was nothing really changed to the policy that we had in place. We also did a little revision with the uniform policy 5511, just detailing a little bit more in regards to what is and isn't allowed. Of course, the administration is always going to have, you know, the last say, so to speak. You know, we want our atmosphere conducive to learning, without any distractions regarding uniforms. So there was just a couple of changes in regards to the logos. That was eliminated. What was it about that one? We also went over new and revised policies. A lot of them were more vocabulary and definition revisions. As far as parent, legal guardian, etc., when they refer to parent in any paperwork, it encompasses all of those terms. So if you're a legal guardian but not a biological parent, you're still considered the child's parent and still have the same rights that a biological parent would. So they just kind of encompassed that word. Bert, am I missing anything off the top
Yeah,
of
the
your
only,
head?
that was excellent. The only thing I would just add, just a little clarification. On the uniform policy, it was just a revision, so it's not new. The board is
Right.
clearly still in support. I just cleaned up the language to make it a little bit more, and an understanding the administration does have discretion on dealing with the interpretation of it. And as Kim said, we asked permission through the police chief. We'll now go to the county. We'll send a letter out to the parents stating it's going to be one of our security drills. It can be more than once. It'll happen only in the middle school and the high school, and it will be unannounced. What will happen in that particular case, there'll be a lockdown. That'll be the drill. The dogs will come in. They'll go up and down the halls. If they smell something in a locker or something like that, then that locker will be opened, and if there's something there, then there will be some issues. You have to do it. It's really come so far with what's going on today in society. It's somewhat disconcerting that takes place. And so we're going to move ahead. John and Dave and the administration at the high school will deal with that. Otherwise, everything I thought went really, really well.
Thank you.
It's not tied down to once a year. It could be 2 or 3 times, so it can be multiple. But also the factor, there are a lot of schools asking for that, either to do it as a part of the drill, unfortunately to do because they're concerned, either at night or during the day. So those dogs need time to rest, but it will be a minimum of once, if not 2 times during the year. There's no limit. That's what I'm trying to say.
And just if there is any curiosity, there is no cost to our district.
Right.
Even if there was, I think that would be money well spent to keep our students safe. But there is no cost to our district. And then the other vocabulary word, pupil, student, again, it's going to encompass the same term. So anything that is in regarding to student, pupil, it's going to have the same connotation.
And when we do these policy reviews, we do it through Strauss Esme, the company. They make all the adjustments, and then the administrators take a look at it, then the board takes a look at it. So we're not making all this stuff up ourselves. He has a high percentage of the districts in the state. And so there are sometimes local options that you can make, but most of the time it's either we approve, we look at it, and so it's quite helpful. And especially when we're talking about the dogs, the uniform policy, the booster club, the transgender student policy. I was on the phone with Phil, the owner, for quite a bit of time. Get us through the language. Let's make sure it's right. We don't want to do this 2 or 3 times, and he was excellent. Thank you.
Through the chair?
Go ahead.
Good. I just had a question that we're getting rid of the no company labels be a prominent feature on the pants. And I understand that for a few reasons, especially seeing it's vague. Is anything replacing that? Or are we saying company labels are okay? I didn't see the replacement.
It's in the policy. Hold 1 second. Kim and I just went over that. In the policy, I think on the 3rd page, we changed 2 paragraphs because there was the one was dealing with law enforcement regarding any type of clothing or anything that might be gang related. And we just changed that one. It said consult with law enforcement with us. The second one is a second paragraph on the third page that clearly states that any clothing that's inappropriate or can disrupt education would be disallowed. So example, I don't even know what I'm wearing here, but there's like a little label here. Tommy Hilfiger. Yeah. So it's a gift. I couldn't afford it, so thank you. Technically, in the old policy, it said prominent.
Right.
Where you run into problems with stuff like that is, what is your definition of prominent versus your definition of prominent, definition of parent prominent? So the more specific language you do, I firmly believe, the more trouble you're in. So the basic thing you want to do is give administrative discretion. So in that paragraph, it states if what you're wearing is inappropriate towards the learning process. The best example I can give is some of these sweatpants with the comments on the butt and stuff like that. Yeah, there we go. That the administrator would say unacceptable. If Nike is here on the side, who cares? It's not affecting it. All of a sudden, Nike's across and in situation that's taking place, then the administrator can say that's a little bit too much. So, the reason I took that out was it only talked about the pants, but it didn't say anything about a jacket. So I'm saying to myself, all right, now you had a jacket, then someone's going to say, well, what about a sweater? Then what about a shirt? So I talked to Phil. He said, I can clean the language up. You give me your language, I'll clean it up. We put those two paragraphs in. That still gives the ability for the administrator to say that's too big a symbol and you can't wear it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And then the other policy that we reviewed was the transgender policy, that students who identify with a gender other than the one that they were born into is what they would be recognized as, that they would be allowed to use the bathrooms of the gender that they identify with as far as locker rooms.
That's by law. It is being challenged in courts. So far, it looks like that the transgender student will be allowed, if they want, once they've identified and been stated, they can use the locker rooms and the facilities, restrooms, etc. We talked about that. I spoke to the attorney. Then we also spoke to Phil Nicastro from Strauss Esme, and both said at this particular point, that has to stay that way unless the court overturns it. So you might not like it, but that's not part of it.
Through the chair.
Well,
Now, what if in 4 months they change their mind?
then we change the policy.
Okay, because
Yeah, if the court already came down, Mike, and then went and said, you could have a neutral place, et cetera, then Phil would come out with they call policy alerts, and our attorneys would also notify us, and then we would just have a meeting and make the adjustments that are necessary.
Based on this policy, from what I read, all it takes is a note from a parent to say that this child is a transgender
Correct.
child and choose it. So, what happens if a year from now this child decides they're no longer transgender? Little Johnny's been using the girls' room all along.
Mm-hmm.
Where's the rights for the students who aren't the heterosexual students? To be honest, as a parent, my kid came home from school and said, oh, Sally came in the bathroom today and went way forward and said, I have a problem.
I don't disagree. I guess the best example, I'll give you this example. When I was principal at Demarest, I got a phone call from the Record, and they want to know my opinion of the homosexual couple that was coming to our junior prom. And of course, that was the first I heard of it. So fortunately, it was on the phone because I went, well, what? And so they said, well, what do you think? Should that be allowed? I said, it doesn't matter what I think. What it is, I'm the principal of the building, and if that is allowed, then obviously they would be welcome. And then the reporter kept looking for me to say, personally, I don't agree with it or whatever. And he kept saying, yeah, but what's your personal opinion? And I must have said it like an Abbott and Costello routine 4 or 5 times. It does not matter what I personally believe. I'm the administrator of the building, and it's my responsibility to enforce the laws and allow what takes place. So they came, the Record followed the whole thing, it was on the front page of the Record, and the couple from the home and the parents and the whole thing. Postscript, 3 months later, I got invited to be the keynote speaker at the National Lesbian and Gay Conference in San Francisco. I never responded. I just put it in my file to be something I could have when I'm in assisted living with my meds and could show them what took place. But we have to, upon legal advice and also with the Strauss-Esme, there's a lot of things that we do in our positions that maybe personally we have trouble with, but we can't put the district at fault legally. So the answer, your answer is at this particular point they're allowed.
That doesn't open up a lawsuit on the other end?
That would go there, right?
I think it's part of the challenge. I think it's part of the challenge.
It's in 2 states, right? They're challenging
I
it?
believe so.
Yeah. So we'll wait for the court results. If all of a sudden, a year from now, 6 months from now, it changes, then we can change the policy if that's the willingness of the board. All right? Any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Ammerman.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay, committee reports, building and grounds, Mr. Munda, do you have any
I think
more?
Ray's gonna set something up, right? Or,
Soon I have a day.
okay.
All right, we're gonna set up a date. All right, Ms. Borelli's not here as far as curriculum, instruction, technology, and programs. Mr. Quinn, you're gonna have something on Wednesday for budget for us?
For negotiations.
Oh, negotiations, I'm sorry.
Budget,
Negotiations.
we're doing great.
Yeah.
Budget process is going great for the year of the 2015-16.
That'll start up next month.
Okay, very good. Ms. Canapieclo gave a detailed policy report, thank you. Correspondence,
That's just for the board to know that when we approved the district comprehensive maintenance plan back in October, this is the letter from the state approving it, so just for your records.
okay, thank you, Mr. Crowley. Old business,
I have old and new.
okay,
Is that after a month? That's pretty good, huh?
not bad.
If I could tie that one together, I just got consulted with the attorney of whether I could do it in private session or not, and we have to, it's fine in public session. Ray and I met with the mayor and Borough Administrator Ray today. Very positive meeting. Very, very impressed in the both meetings I've had with the mayor. And there was a bunch of items for discussion that we can get at another meeting, but the one that came up was videotaping of meetings. And the mayor is again requesting that the board videotape their meetings on the station that you have for Saddlebrook. When we did our discussion, we came to maybe the board makes the final decision. You can either go full videotaping, the whole bit, or no videotaping, et cetera. But the more we discussed, then he mentioned at one point that they only videotape the public session. They do not videotape the caucus. And I said, I see a deal here. If you are saying that would you accept just like the Wednesday meetings, and our caucus would not be videotaped for us. In other words, we could drop that just like the mayor and council. And then our official meetings on Wednesdays would be taped and then be put on the Borough Hall. Because as he said, which was a legitimate point, is that there's some blogger he told me about that somehow is able to get in to what's done or something that was done with us, and then he was able to take it out through YouTube and go out on his own. So if someone is technology driven enough to be able to do something like that, why wouldn't you then just give it out to the people? And for me, I said, that makes sense. So I told him the board was going to discuss it, that we would get back to him either this week or in the next couple weeks. I don't know what the board's feeling is, but my suggestion would be, I like the idea that we go into agreement and we would have our Wednesday, the official board meetings televised, but our caucus meetings no longer would be televised, just like the mayor and council. They do not televise their work sessions. So that's a discussion that's open for opinions or whatever you want to do.
Bert,
I'm sure everybody's gonna have something to say, so.
I don't have a problem with that.
That's
at
your
all.
decision, not mine.
I would rather see our students be part of an elective and let them learn something from it instead of having a company come in and do it.
Well, it wouldn't really be, from what I understand, it wouldn't be a company. They would take this video and be able to put it on TV. So it'd be exactly what you see on the website. that would now be broadcasted on TV. There wouldn't be a separate company coming in here videotaping our meetings. It wouldn't add any additional burden to the taxpayers financially. So I believe that's the way it's going to.
You're right on that part. The only part that might have to be a club or something where Mike is heading is, which to us, when he originally brought it up, I said, look, you want to film our athletic events, you want to do the plays, go for it. Put all you want on TV. But I think in that point, and Emerson has it, other districts have it, if we got a group of students and an advisor and they wanted to tape it and then send it over, that's the easy part, and I agree with you. I think the question that you guys just have to answer either tonight or wait till the other board members are here and talk about it Wednesday, or is how do you want to go about it? Yes, no, or do that compromise part?
Through the chair, would it be possible to do somewhat of a test run? Because I know we are still working out some kinks. The camera's stationary, so you're not getting to see all the members, especially when they're speaking, and the audio is very low.
Correct.
So if we were to put it out there, I would want a quality piece.
Absolutely.
To,
He mentioned that. I have no life, so I watch C-SPAN and then I watch Montvale's mayor and council meetings, and that's truly the definition of no life. And what you just talked about, there's never a problem with the mayor and council speaking because they have the mic set up. It just depends, like if someone had a question tonight, I don't think so. It looks like this is a very positive, compliant crowd tonight. But if they did, we can test it. Is they found out in Montvale if the people going up didn't get close to the mic, you couldn't hear them on the TV, which was true. And then the same thing in Saddlebrook, at the same exact issues. But now what they do is they don't put it in a tape, they just leave it so the person has to pick it up and bring it to their mouth. Ray and I would have to meet with the teaching staff member to see, do we have the appropriate equipment to get this all done?
Right.
And then come back to you. So Kim, you're 100% right. And we would most likely test run it first time with everyone knowing it might not be the quality you want, but we would go towards that goal.
Because I think it is important, not just for the parents to see what's going on, but taxpayers and, everybody, they're all stakeholders. So I think it's great to broadcast that for everyone to see, but I would want it to be audible and
Agreed.
visual. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Go ahead. I don't really,
Can't hear you. No, go ahead.
I don't have a strong opinion either way. I mean, personally, I think our town programming would be much more benefited by all of the sports and individual clubs and the VFW and all of the other things that happen within town. As these are videotaped, and anybody that wants to watch it, 90% of our community can go on to the website anytime they want and see it. So personally, I think there's a better use of the town. That said, as long as the quality gets much better, I don't per se have any issue with it per se, but I think we really have to make sure our quality is something that we want to put on television, because then it's not just our community, but all the communities, and we want to look good. That's my concern, is we want to look good if we put it on TV.
Booth and then here.
Through the chair, in the years past, when I was in high school, I was on part of the technology club, and we started this. The only thing is, like you said, you want to do sporting events and do everything else. It's like the long term, getting everyone on board. So like, there's only so many members of the technology club. When I did, there was like 6 people. And like for the home games, everything was okay because people wanted to go see the home games. But it was like away games, people didn't want to travel with the team, how long it was, do stuff like that. And then the editing process takes a lot of time. So to figure out how long it would take to do all the videos for like the sounds, people that walk by and say certain things you don't want on the video. It's a lot of time that it takes, and students were missing class, so it's like something we have to talk about, prepare. We're going to go full board.
We had it at Northern Valley, and you just hit on one thing. The concept you can't argue with. Now we're going to implement it, and just like anything else, everybody wants it, and then 5 people do all the work. And that's your issue. And so we would have to work out parameters and see what we can and can't do. But I think the concept is there, and then we have to just work towards it. But you are 100% right, and I couldn't emphasize enough what Carmine just said, because you'll get a teacher, and they can't put all that time in either with the going on, and you'll get 5 or 6 kids that love this stuff, and then everybody's asking, can we get this on? You did this, can you get that on? And so we'd have to go into it gradually and work towards it. But that's an excellent point that we have to all remember.
Through the chair, I am 100% for it. I believe in transparency. I do. I don't believe in hiding anything, but I do agree we need quality, because you don't want to put something out there that you're going to get yourself bit.
Right.
Okay? But Steve, I have to disagree with you on the one point that you made. There are a lot of young people out there who really don't either have a computer or are computer illiterate, and they can just click on a TV and see what's going on versus going on a website. That's the only point I disagree with. I am totally for TV.
I'm also 100% for it. I agree with Mr. Accamundo, many of you, that I believe we should have the students get involved. I think it'd be a great learning experience. I'd like better quality. I think maybe the quality that we have isn't going to be the best. However, I don't know who we need to leave that up to decide if the quality is good enough or not good enough. I think what we have now may have to be good for now, and hopefully the audio is good enough and the video is good enough so the taxpayers do get some information from us on these meetings. 60% of the tax dollars that are spent here in the schools. And I know a lot of the people would be interested to see how their money's being spent, and I think it would do well to promote the school district here in Saddle Brook. So if we can vote on it possibly
Wednesday
or in the near future.
Okay.
I know we have 3 board members that would probably like to speak on the topic. And if we can, get their input and then, get it voted upon and get it on TV, I think it would be great. So
I guess the question the board has to answer, do you want to do both the caucus and the regular, or just do the regular? My suggestion would be to start with the regular, just to make the quality, and then you make a determination down if it's going well, hey, we'll go with the caucus. But I think it takes the pressure off. You don't need to tape on a caucus night. It's only the Wednesday night.
Through the chair, when are our minutes posted on our website now? Are our minutes posted like a day or two prior to the meeting?
After Wednesday, when like Novembers are approved, on the Wednesday agenda, they go approved a day or two after.
So nobody has the agenda prior to the meeting?
Agenda's up.
Yeah, I'm sorry, the
Like
agenda.
Friday, for tonight's meeting, Friday, it was posted to the website.
Okay, so people do have access to what is going to be discussed, and if they want to voice their opinion, then at least they are aware of what's going to be on the agenda,
Yes.
and then they can come down on Monday.
Yeah. Thank you.
thank you. That was your old and new business.
Old and new.
Very good.
Wait, I have something under new business. Through the chair. Last Tuesday night, Dave and I went to the NJSBA dinner and workshop, and they had a,
Why'd you do that?
because that's my committee.
Okay.
And the dinner.
Okay, shh, I wasn't gonna say that.
I go 2 for 1 at Morgan's every Tuesday. Go ahead.
Anyway, the speaker that they had was on internet safety. He was a Carlstadt cop detective, and he was also on the task force. And it was just so informative and great. And he does go to the schools either for parents or for students to say, I think it's something that we should definitely look into. Like I said, he was awesome. His questions and answers, and he's willing to come. There's no cost whatsoever.
If you just give me the information. There's another one too. It's free, and you're one. I keep saying 100% tonight, so there better be no questions from the public. But the state police also does something like this, where they bring assemblies in and they go through with the kids, and you show the pictures and the stuff, and then you find out it's a 52-year-old man, and what's with the predators and what's going on. It's absolutely amazing. And the only reason I know it, one of the interims that I was at, I went down for a cameo for PR reasons. Yeah, they were talking about it. My kids were gone. I could care less. And I walked in, and I didn't leave. I was just in a trance in the factor of what's going on. And I went home that night to my wife and said to her, call the girls, I mean, even though they were in college and stuff, because I got really worried with the stuff that these
That's
kids
awesome.
today do. So if you can give us the information, we could possibly tie it into some type of program, either the middle school or the high school.
I'll email it to you tomorrow.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other new
Yeah,
business?
I just want to say, they had the holiday party at the high school, which, thank you to the school board for allowing it. It was phenomenal. You had like 900 meals that went.
Oh, wow.
Face painters, all Disney characters. Santa Claus and Miss Claus were perfect together. They were excellent. And just the town and the school board did a great job.
Super.
It was excellent.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. Motion to open the meeting to the public?
Motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone wish to address the board?
Come on.
I thought
Residents
with
are
the leader
requested-
not being here, we were home free.
Residents are requested to state their names, addresses, and subject matter. In the event it appears the public comment portion of the meeting may exceed 45 minutes, the presiding officer may limit each statement made by a participant to 5 minutes duration. Issues raised by members of the public may or may not be responded to by the board. All comments will be considered and a response will be forthcoming if and when appropriate. The board asks that members of the public be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Specifically, comments regarding students and employees of the board are discouraged and will not be responded to by the board. Students and employees have specific legal rights afforded by the laws of New Jersey. The board bears no responsibility, nor will it be liable for any comments made by members of the public. Members of the public should consider their comments in light of the legal rights of those affected or identified in their comments and be aware that they are legally responsible and liable for their comments.
Jennifer Wing, 400 Beach River Road. I have a couple policy questions. One, after they do the search with the dogs, are they gonna talk to the kids about that? Just kind of thinking, I have a 12-year-old little girl that's gonna be kind of freaked out by that.
Well, I do not know the answer to that. I would doubt it, but maybe in the preparation afterwards, the administrators can meet, or the factor that when the letter goes home, we most likely would ask the parents to just discuss it with their child, so knowing that it's a possibility going forward.
I think about some of her close friends, that one in particular who has a really bad sensory disorder, that could kind of freak out a little bit. But, you know, it's definitely, I have no problem talking to my child, it's just something to be aware of. The second one, when you were talking about inappropriate uniforms, I'm assuming that also means ones that are 3 or 4 sizes too small, too short, too tight.
Well, that's in there.
You see that walking down the street here every single day.
Well, when I read the policy, I don't have it in front of me. When I read the policy, people put a lot of time into that freaking thing. And, I mean, it's just, what you just said should not be allowed. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah. And I mean, I know that it spells out color of tights, color of sweaters, color of all of that is in the dress code. And I'm that parent that follows it because I teach half an hour away and can't come and give her clothes. But I drop her off at the fork here and see kids in black soccer legging. I'm like, those aren't uniform. And you see it every single day in the schools. So, you know, some of us are rule followers and it's great. It makes my life very easy. Get up in the morning, grab your uniform, put it on. It's not being followed.
Well, I wouldn't disagree, but I wouldn't go that far. The only reason, to be honest with you, a couple of times that I've been out among the village is I'm pretty impressed overall because I know it's a nightmarish thing to try to enforce. I compliment the board and the committee to put it together. I see a compliant student body, which what I mean by that is I don't see anyone going crazy and saying, you know, this isn't right. It can always be reinforced. Wherever I've been, I just try to say to the administrators, don't go looking for it, because if you go looking for it, at least a male tells a male, a female tells a female, because if you do the opposite, the parents would turn it the other way, and you're saying how they get into this. Second of all, when it becomes a real problem, then send a letter home, and then really go after it. So I'll look into it, but what you said and described should not take place.
I kind of want to piggyback on what Sylvia said. Like I said, I have a 12-year-old girl. It kind of scares me that there could be boys in the locker room with her. I I know it's out of your control.
Not a boy.
It just really bothers me.
It's not a boy.
And it bothers me further that my 6-year-old could have the same issue, because.
I know you're looking at me,
Started
it's a
kindergarten.
transgender student. It's a whole new world.
Yes,
And-
but
and-
my parents.
I don't disagree. You can stay up there as long as you want, but it's not going to change at this point. And that's why the system is, there are people that are much in agreement with you and have challenged it, and we'll see what the courts say.
I have nothing, I'm not saying anything against
I'm not,
anybody out there, I just.
right, I hear your point.
Our rights are important too, and I know it's not your decision,
Well, it's not majority votes. In other words, there's a lot of times that the vast majority of people, if you do polls, I know that's something new in this country, polls, but when you do polls, the overwhelming people say no, and the law says yes. And once the law says yes, that overrides, and with good cause, because that's the way minorities, not talking about racial or ethnic, but the minority opinion is protected if the law says, no, that's what takes place. The majority, I call it hold the nose theory, in the factor that we got to enforce what we have to enforce. But we'll see where the courts go with it. This is new.
And just for the rest of you, quick announcement. We met with Mr. Ammerman, all of the PTOs and the PTO leaders and the principals from all the schools. Just put on your calendars, please, April 30th. We're doing a district-wide fun color run.
Oh, that's the date.
A whole district PTO, PTA event. Every school will be doing its own fundraising. Like, the events will be virtually separate, but the physical event will be done all
Right,
together.
that was done very well.
So we had a meeting last month with Adam, the representative from the fundraising company. It's gonna be a big, fun, exciting event, Saturday morning, so it's not even your whole day. But please plan to be there. We did it at Smith School last year. The kids absolutely loved it. It became a bigger thing when we started doing it with the other presidents last year. So,
That's great, thank you.
yeah.
I was at that meeting.
Yeah.
You guys gonna do like a Facebook group or something like that?
We talked about that, we actually had a discussion via email recently about doing a Facebook page for it. I think we're gonna hold off until after our next meeting in January.
Alright, cause I know that's what they did for the 5K.
Yeah, I
That would
believe
be
we're going
great.
to, we kinda all just thought it was a little bit too soon. Because we want it to stay like relevant, and we felt like, we just met in November, and the event's not till the end of April, so we figured after the holidays.
No, I'm just saying in general,
Yeah,
yeah, it sounds
absolutely,
awesome.
absolutely.
Is this a
Thank you.
benefit? I'm sorry, through the chair, is this a benefit
For
or
the PTAs and PTOs.
for the PT, so it will be split
We
amongst
each
evenly?
have, our financials will all be kept separate. They're setting it up as a separate event for each school.
Oh,
We're just
okay.
physically doing it, bringing all of our supplies and everything together.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it's like, we had fun. We hire a DJ, they kind of just run around and throw colors. The way that we earn money, the higher the level that they raise in their fundraising, the more color packets they get. So more than just the color stations that we have that we throw at them, and Mr. Shearer had a blast at this last year throwing it at his students. The kids get packets to throw at each other too, and all it is colored cornstarch, so it's completely safe for the grass and their clothes. So.
Thank you, Mrs. Williams. Does anyone else wish to address the board? Seeing no one else, motion to close the meeting to the public.
Motion?
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion to go to closed executive session to discuss personnel contract negotiations and matters covered by the attorney-client privilege.
No,
NJSA.
Before we do that, can I ask a question on the transgender policy? We're back on that. What is the difference with this policy for a transgender, a bisexual, a gay, or a transvestite?
You're asking who?
Anyone that wants to answer.
Well, I know what transgender is. Gay is pretty simple, it's gay boys and gay girls. So if you got
But
gay-
their way of thinking is
But
this.
no, but if you got gay boys, they go to the boys' room. And look, this is being videotaped. I'm not really comfortable in this situation.
Okay.
You got your gay girl, bisexual. I don't think there's any.
There's not an issue with their identity, and that's the difference. They don't have, they're still holding themselves out as
What they were born
what
as.
they were born as. So that's a different,
Okay.
and I haven't reviewed your policy, but, you know, it's my understanding that it is consistent with the law, the way that it's drafted.
Motion to recess to close executive session to discuss personnel contract negotiations and matters covered by the attorney-client privilege per NJSA 10-4-6, except Open Public Meetings Act. The subject matter discussed may be disclosed to the public if and when the need for confidentiality no longer exists. Action may be taken when the board reconvenes in open session. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, have a good night.
Thank you all.